Tracee Ellis Ross, a fashion icon, a comedy legend, and a woman who just got real about a truth many are afraid to admit. She's single, she has no children, and yes, sometimes it hurts. Tracee Ellis Ross always seems so content and carefree, but she admitted on the Michelle Obama podcast that she's grieving for the life she had envisioned for herself, a life with a husband and kids. Let's talk about a mature woman moment that had the girls in their feelings. Not the messy kind, but the real deal vulnerable kind. Sis is turning 53 this year, and she's still out there looking like a walking skincare advertisement. But let's be honest, she's never been married and has no children. She used to be jeered by Akon's brother. But yes, that boo and she were together for a brief moment, and people truly believed it would be the end of her. But life had other plans, and that love story didn't work out. And I believe that sometimes that was a stomach punch for the strong ants who maintain their composure on the outside, but occasionally weep in the shower, just when you thought it couldn't be any more poignant. That's the pain of being a liberated woman. The choice doesn't mean the grief isn't there, remarked Michelle Obama, delivering a knowledge that smacks like a hug and a truth serum all at once. Ooh, again, because yes, you can choose yourself, build a successful career, travel the world, and still have moments where you sit with the what could have been. It's giving, growing, layered giving. And honestly, we love that this conversation is finally being had aloud. 53. What do you have to say about this, Auntie Tracee? She's in her era, and even with the grief, she's a tired working wife whose husband is blind to her second duty when she comes home and has to take care of the kids, cook, clean, and do all the laundry while he watches the news on his game. She's somewhere sitting around thinking, you know what? I should have never gotten married and should have never had these kids. I wish I was single and able to travel the world and take on many lovers. Although it's always better to be married, I will admit that I can understand Tracee's perspective because if you haven't been married yourself, you still believe that married women are desirable because they have dated and understand what it's like to be single. However, single women who have never been married cannot claim to understand what it's like to be married. And although I don't want Tracee to get married for the sake of getting married, I would suggest that she speak with more married women. Okay, because society has a way of romanticizing marriage, when in actuality, it is what you make it. Let me just start with that. But because we've romanticized it, a lot of people who get married, especially at young ages, don't realize that work is involved, real hard work. I think if more people realize how hard marriage actually was, in order to get it to where you want it to be, I don't mean that it's hard every day always, but it is always shifting and changing because the people involved are shifting and changing. They're growing older. Their own life experiences as individuals are changing and shifting. And then they have to find a way to find common ground within their marriage. It takes work, constant work to check in with one another to make sure you're still on the same page. I think if more people realize that fewer people would be married now, I know this is going to seem like a contradiction because I'm always hauling about y'all getting married. But that's because y'all out here doing married things like having kids. Okay, if you going to be doing married stuff, going to get married now that we have that out the way, some people may wonder why Tracee never adopted. But I think it's because Tracee probably wanted to raise children within a marriage with a partner. Miss Shonda Rhimes has decided not to have a partner and to raise two beautiful girls all on her own. And she's wealthy enough to do so. We'll have to fast forward, to find out how the children felt about being raised without a father. Probably have no issue with that at all. And I say father, but what I mean is a second parent, even another mother. Not that Shonda is gay, because y'all know how y'all run off with these rumors. So let me make this plain. Let me just say two. Parent household, because good, googly moody the way, some folks, they just don't be getting it, y'all. Because raising a child is hard work, just like a marriage is hard work. Because again, you got two people involved, you got the little person who is the child who has their own set of feelings and experiences, and then you got the parent. If there's another parent, sure, you've got another set of experiences, but at least you as a parent, you got backup. Okay, so it's just my guess. I've never heard her say it out loud, but I figure she probably wanted to raise a child with a partner. And when you are wealthy and have social status, such as Tracee Ellis Ross, you can have a baby at 53. That isn't too old. Look at Janet Jackson, all right? Even if she doesn't want to have a child on her own, she can have a surrogate. I wonder if her eggs are frozen. Anyway, some people might also wonder if she should lower her standards and maybe fall in love and marry someone who isn't in Hollywood or in your neighborhood because that's where you are. However, I always say that it's easier to meet people in your socioeconomic settings because you are more likely to run into someone you work with at the grocery store, in your neighborhood, where you shop, and in your side of town because that's where you are. In Hollywood circles, the reason the dating pool seems so small is because those are the circles they are constantly in. Joe Blow the plumber, because there are some very successful blue collar guys out here, who own plumbing and HVAC companies, but they just don't cross paths. I'll also add that it takes a certain kind of man who, well, isn't intimidated by a woman of Tracy's caliber, who wouldn't try to keep the spotlight off her, and who wouldn't be offended if people called him Mr. Tracee Ellis Ross because we would only know him through her. There are people who are not in Hollywood women, who are in Hollywood who are also going through this same thing. There's a woman that's under the sound of my voice right now who's considering lowering her standards just so she can say she got married. And to that woman, and any woman like her, I would like to say this. There's more power in gratitude. There's more power in being grateful for where you are in your life right now and what you have than to be considering and grieving over that which you do not have. Do y'all hear Auntie take a moment? Tracee needs to take a moment to dig deep into her gratitude, to be grateful for her extended family, for her nieces and nephews, and the love that she can give to them. And there's a such thing as aunties, who are uh, mumies, is what I call them. They mass aunties, right? Date the rich auntie to live in that flavor, live in that profile, travel, be grateful to be beautiful and have a fit body and go where you want to go when you want to go and be able to date different men of different calibers if you see fit. Here's the thing, the more you date and expose yourself, not expose yourself like that, not flashing people, not like that. And I've said this before, and somebody had something smart to say, so I'm going to take this opportunity to clap back. But they was like, dating many people is not the answer to that auntie. Sit your ass down somewhere, nobody asks you anything, is another thing I would want to say. For some reason, people assume that when I say date, I mean to swap body fluids and spit, and you perform the horizontal dance. That's not what I'm talking about, and there is nothing. So if you think that going out for coffee is a horrible idea, you have it all wrong. Go on 3 or 4 coffee dates every week with various men. Talk to different men because, let me tell you something, many of the married women in these comments, if you're brave enough to say so, married the man you met in college. Married the man you married in high school, sweetheart, huh? You married someone you went into the military with right after high school, and you married the first man you met. Many of you haven't dated dozens of men. And by dated, I mean that you've talked to them over coffee or a stroll in the park to learn about the various types of men that are out there. And you don't know what you like and what you might not like. Spend some time chatting to and dating various men. Men encountering several males in various social settings. Travel to galas, attend the juke joint party, have a BBQ, and then meet someone you know on one of these islands or in a foreign nation. Talk to people since, in all honesty, meeting your aunt has experience in sales, so it's no different from statistics that the right one is a numbers game. I knew that in the past, when you were dating and going on coffee dates and having these conversations, the more people who said no, the closer I was to saying yes. 15-30-minute conversations with these men, you'll know right away if you pay attention to your red flags. And that's another thing, your intuition will grow stronger. Trust that feeling in your stomach is that says this ain't the one, baby, and at least it's a coffee date, and it'll be done in 10 minutes. You see what I'm saying? As opposed to some fancy dinner date. where you got to sit there for another hour and a half. Because it really just is about statistics. It's a numbers game. And so the more conversations you have, the more information and data you will collect on the type of man that you like. And here's the thing, a lot of us think that we supposed to date men who are men.